For centuries, artillery has been considered the king of battle due to its unparalleled ability to project massive firepower over long distances. As far back as the Battle of Calderon in 1514, artillery has been the weapon system responsible for the highest number of battlefield casualties. It's also been used to shape the battlefield by taking on deep targets, providing illumination and cover, and supporting maneuver forces with precision strikes far beyond the imprecise direct fire capabilities of the cannons it replaced. During the war in Ukraine, drones, both short-range FPV drones and longer-range loitering munitions, have, to an extent, become the deadliest weapon on the front lines. Much cheaper and quicker to produce than artillery systems and shells, the preponderance of both attack and surveillance drones in Ukraine has reshaped the way war is fought. FPV drones alone, for example, have been responsible for around 2/3 of Russia's huge tank losses during the war. That's led some analysts to question whether the drone is now the king of the battlefield rather than artillery. But now Lockheed Martin and Rheinmetall, two of the world's foremost defense producers, have successfully test-fired the next generation of artillery, and it looks like it's a game-changer. Indeed, the Global Mobile Artillery Rocket System, or GMARS, looks like it might put artillery back into vogue on the battlefield and give NATO a decisive advantage. Let's take a closer look at this new weapon system and how it could once again change the status quo on the battlefield. First, the global part of GMARS is significant, as we'll discover shortly, but in essence, GMARS is a major upgrade to the already formidable US-made M142 High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, or HIMARS system, which is a mobile, precision-guided artillery system developed by Lockheed Martin in the late 1990s. It's been a core component of the US military for 2 decades, delivering high-accuracy long-range strikes and rapid deployment capabilities. HIMARS is capable of carrying and launching a variety of munitions, including a single 6-pack of Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System, or GMLRS, rockets, and 1 Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS missile. It can also fire the Precision Strike Missile, or PrSM, which is designed to replace ATACMS, offering extended ranging capabilities. It features advanced guidance systems that combine GPS and inertial navigation, which ensures pinpoint accuracy, minimizes collateral damage, and effectively engages enemy positions, command posts, supply depots, air defense systems, and the like. The system is mounted on a 6x6 family of medium tactical vehicles, or FMTV chassis, which gives it excellent mobility across diverse terrains. The fact that it's mounted on a wheeled vehicle allows it to be transported by aircraft such as the C-130 Hercules, enabling swift strategic deployment to remote or hostile areas. The lightweight wheeled design also gives it a significant tactical advantage over heavier systems like the M270 MLRS due to its increased mobility. The operator simply inputs target coordinates, takes up a launch position, fires, then relocates to safety before the enemy has a chance to target the launcher with counterfire. The M270 is highly interoperable with HIMARS, sharing the same fire control systems, electronics, and training protocols. It also delivers twice the firepower of HIMARS. However, because it's tracked rather than wheeled, it simply can't offer the same rapid relocation capabilities, especially on roads. HIMARS was successfully combat tested in operations such as Operation Iraqi Freedom and in Afghanistan, but gained global attention when it was deployed by Ukraine in its war against Russia in 2022. By mid-2025, more than 40 HIMARS systems have been delivered to Ukraine by the US, with some funded by allies like Germany. Although the Russians have become more effective at shooting them down, HIMARS wreaked havoc on their forces during the early phase of the war. Indeed, HIMARS is considered to be a core component of Ukraine's counterattacks in late 2022 and 23, which saw Ukrainian forces recapture swathes of territory in the Kharkiv, Kherson, and Zaporizhia regions. But now HIMARS is getting a serious upgrade, namely the GMARS. Like the HIMARS, GMARS is a wheeled MLRS, but instead of HIMARS' 6x6 wheeled chassis, GMARS sits on top of Rheinmetall's HX 8x8 truck, the latest incarnation of this truly versatile platform. The HX truck platform actually comes in 6x6 and 10x10 configurations, along with the 8x8 version used by the GMARS system. There's an HX recovery vehicle available in all 3 configurations, which combines a powerful drivetrain, hydraulic winch, crane, and recovery aids to master any recovery scenario. There's also an HX bridge layer, which is a mobile bridge sitting on top of an HX 8x8 chassis. It allows other vehicles to cross small rivers or wide trenches, including heavy gear like all of NATO's main battle tanks. There's also an HX 8x8 excavator version, which has a lifting capacity of up to 7.5 tons, and an HX ALHS, or Automated Load Handling System. This powerful vehicle enables the loading and unloading of containers, flat trucks, and modules from military logistics vehicles using a computerized process requiring just a single covered crew member. But this truck is not just used for logistical and engineering tasks. Rheinmetall also has an HX wheeled self-propelled howitzer, which features the combat-proven Rheinmetall 155mm L52 elevating mass and the JBMOU-compliant modular charges and projectiles on the HX's 10x10 chassis. Now an HX-mounted MLRS joins the family. The HX 8x8 trucks gives GMARS a road range of around 435 miles or 700 kilometers, with high ground clearance and a central tire inflation system that can be adjusted for rough or soft terrain. That gives GMARS more flexibility for long road marches and resupply missions than the FMTV 6x6 truck used by HIMARS, or the tracked Bradley chassis used by the M270. Both HIMARS and the M270 have shorter road ranges of roughly 300 miles. When it comes to rocket performance, GMARS can launch the same long-range munitions as HIMARS and M270, outpacing most of its rivals. Russia's Tornado MLRS fires out to about 124 miles, Iran's Fajr 5 to a similar distance, and even China's PHL-16 tops out at around 224 miles, still well short of the maximum ranges GMARS can reach with US munitions. GMARS is also a big step up from HIMARS in terms of firepower, precisely double to be exact. Unlike the HIMARS system's single launch pod, GMARS has two that can be loaded with different weapons, just like the M270. That means it can fire 12 GMLRS rockets with a range of 43 to 93 miles, 2 ATACMS with a range of around 186 miles, or a total of 4 PRISMs with a range of 310 miles and beyond. That much firepower and range gives GMARS an abundance of the kind of precise and highly mobile long-range fire that has proven to be essential on today's drone-drenched battlefields. The ability to move about the battlefield and hit targets with pinpoint accuracy within a 50 to 300 mile radius, and then scoot away before the enemy can fire back, is a massive force multiplier. It's also highly likely that other weapons, from drones and cruise missiles to directed energy weapons, will also be integrated into the launcher pods in the short to medium term, providing even more firepower and flexibility. The HX-mounted GMARS will have a top speed of around 62 miles per hour and will be manufactured in Europe. It's an upgrade on HIMARS in almost every respect, although due to its extra size and bulk, it won't be transportable by C-130s like HIMARS, at least not in its current configuration. Given the exponential rate of development in the global arms industry these days, it would come as no surprise if a more compact version of GMARS built specifically for rapid advanced deployment via C-130 emerges in the near future. One of GMARS' key features is almost complete interoperability with the weapons used by HIMARS and the M270, the global part of its name. That means that the operators of GMARS will have immediate access to existing stocks of those munitions. For nations already using GMLRS or ATACMS, this interoperability will also greatly reduce the time it will take to train their forces to use this new system. This interoperability could also give GMARS the edge in the increasingly congested market for high-tech artillery systems, particularly in the case of NATO's European members in Ukraine. Needless to say, the world's militaries have been paying close attention to the developments on the battlefields of eastern Ukraine, and the changing role of artillery hasn't been lost on them. As a result, many nations are trying out adaptations of existing systems or are developing new ones. The best of those will ultimately compete with GMARS, HIMARS, and the M270 for that matter, for a lucrative share of the global artillery systems market. Estimates vary, but the global artillery systems market is currently worth somewhere between $10 and $12 billion. Underscoring just how vibrant this market currently is, that number is projected to grow at a 7% compound annual growth rate to reach around $22 billion in 2033, roughly twice the size. Lockheed Martin itself is putting the finishing touches on a launcher designed to quadruple the number of munitions fired by HIMARS. The company displayed the launcher on a US Marine Corps 10x10 MKR-18 logistics vehicle system replacement truck at the 4th Human Machine Integration Summit in November 2024. That system, like GMARS, is likely to emphasize compatibility with other NATO standard munitions and systems. That gives it an edge over systems like South Korea's K239 Chunmoo, which is not completely interoperable with NATO systems and has been adapted by Poland into its native HIMARS-K MLRS. Initially, Poland ordered 500 HIMARS systems from the US. The first of those were delivered in 2023, but the Poles wanted quicker delivery of the balance than the US was able to guarantee. HIMARS are in high demand, to say the least. So the Poles cast their net a bit wider and ended up doing a deal with South Korea to adapt the Chunmoo into their HIMARS-K. Ultimately, they intend to field both systems, HIMARS and HIMARS-K. In its Polish configuration, the MLRS is integrated with a Polish-made Jelcz 8x8 truck chassis. The HIMARS-K also has various other Polish components and subsystems, including fire control, communication, and battlefield management systems. In both the original Chunmoo and the HIMARS-K, the launch vehicle carries 2 missile containers. In the Polish version, these contain a single CTM-290 missile with a range of approximately 180 miles, or 6 239mm CGR-080 280 precision-guided artillery rockets with a range of approximately 50 miles. The CTM-290 is made in South Korea, but is more or less an analog of the ATACMS. It looks strikingly similar to the legendary US system and shares very similar dimensions. For example, the CTM-290 has a diameter of 23.6 inches compared to 24 inches for the MGM-140 ATACMS, although the weapons are not compatible with each other's respective launchers. In April 2024, the manufacturer of the system, Hanwha Aerospace, confirmed that it had signed a $1.64 billion deal with Poland to supply it with 72 HIMARS units. That formed part of a wider agreement signed in October 2022 worth around $22 billion, which includes 288 MLRS systems plus various other weapons. The first batch of HIMARS was reportedly delivered to Poland in 2023, so Poland is unlikely to be a GMARS customer, at least in the near term, and neither is France. In April 2025, the French Directorate General for Armament, or DGA, announced that it was developing a HIMARS alternative of its own, which it planned to test by mid-2026. It said that it was working with a consortium of Safran and MBDA and another of Thales and Ariane Group to develop a tactical strike capability in the 93-mile range, the same as the extended-range GMLRS missiles fired by HIMARS, GMARS, and the M270. France's defense spending plan for 2024 to 2030 has budgeted around $663 million for a rocket artillery program called Frappe Longue Portée Terrestre, or FLPT for short. Their goal is to buy at least 13 systems by 2030 and 26 systems, enough to equip a battalion, by 2035. During 2025, following the decision by NATO members to increase their defense spending to at least 5% of GDP, France has signaled its intentions to manufacture new weapons locally or purchase from European partners rather than from the US. However, France has an increasingly pressing problem when it comes to artillery. Time is running out to place the Lancer rockets Unitaire, a modified version of the M270. The Army's 9 remaining systems are set to reach the end of their service life in 2027, hence the urgency in getting new systems tested, rolled off the production lines, and installed ASAP. GMARS is well ahead of France's initiatives in terms of development, and its munitions are already well integrated into France's defense systems. So depending on how swiftly and successfully France is able to develop its GMARS alternative, it may yet be compelled to become one of the earliest GMARS customers. Other likely candidates as early customers of the systems are the 3 Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. They share borders with Russia and/or its ally Belarus and are likely to be first in line if Russia decides to attack European territories after Ukraine, or if a wider war between Russia and NATO breaks out. All 3 are NATO allies and all have purchased HIMARS, so they may well find GMARS to be a compelling alternative thanks to its HX platform and compatibility with existing HIMARS and M270 across the rest of the NATO alliance. More low-hanging fruit in terms of potential customers for GMARS is likely to be located in the Middle East. During 2025, several Gulf states have committed to significant expenditure on US arms. The largest of these was a $142 billion defense agreement with Saudi Arabia, described by the White House as the largest defense sales agreement in history. This deal includes advanced military technologies across 5 key areas: air force and space capabilities, air and missile defense, maritime and coastal security, border and land forces modernization, and information and communication system upgrades. The package involves contracts with over a dozen US defense firms, including Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and General Atomics, and includes training and logistical support to ensure interoperability. Moreover, Saudi Arabia has been fielding M270s since the late 1980s, so it would be no surprise if the oil-rich nations have lit up at the thought of upgrading to GMARS, which use the same munitions as their M270s. The UAE also has the M142 HIMARS in its arsenal, while Bahrain acquired the M270 in the early 1990s and ordered upgrades for 9 of them in 2022. Bahrain also purchased 30 M39 series ATACMS in 2000 and 110 M57 ATACMS in 2018. More recently, in August 2025, Bahrain requested at least 4 HIMARS systems along with associated equipment in a $500 million deal. Both nations would almost certainly be interested in GMARS if it were made available to them. For now, there are reportedly no existing customers for GMARS yet, although the system is being actively marketed. Somewhat counterintuitively, the one nation that is not likely to be one of the GMARS' first customers is the US. The US military already has numerous HIMARS, M270s, and similar systems, and is in the process of implementing multiple modernization programs on these and many other systems. Instead, it seems likely that the primary market for the system is intended to be the US's European allies. Several signs point to this. First, there's the commitment by European NATO members to significantly ramp up defense spending over the next decade. Second, the system is manufactured in Europe and co-produced by a European company. Third, it's Europe that faces a direct threat from Russia and is in range of its intermediate missiles, not the US. And fourth, there's a huge demand for HIMARS in Europe, and a rather long waiting list. Acquiring GMARS instead could be an excellent way to jump the queue, so to speak. Considering these factors, it would be surprising if GMARS doesn't see first deployment and action in the European theatre. Still, even if the US never ends up fielding GMARS itself, its forces will surely train and deploy alongside allies that do. All things considered, the GMARS illustrates the changing role of artillery in modern warfare. Far from being displaced by drones, in some ways, drones have actually given artillery a new focus and purpose. Cheap quadcopters and larger, more persistent surveillance drones are spotting targets deeper behind enemy lines than ever before. But hitting those targets can be a challenge, especially without long-range precision artillery. Fiber optic FPV drones can only reach about 30 miles, with FPV drones having significantly less range in general. Drones like Russia's standard Geran-2, their version of the increasingly ubiquitous Iranian Shahid, are slow and relatively easy to shoot down. And due to the increasing power of air defense systems, airstrikes are getting riskier and are thus taking place from farther and farther away. That means it's taking ever longer for missiles and glide bombs to reach their targets, making it easier to shoot them down or to evacuate targets. A rocket launcher like GMARS, which just needs coordinates, can strike within minutes from dozens if not hundreds of miles away and then displace before the enemy has time to target it for a counterstrike. That spot fast, shoot fast, move immediately cycle is now at the heart of modern artillery, and GMARS doubles the firepower available. We'll keep you posted as more news of GMARS testing, deployment and sales emerges, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Thank you as always for watching.